Across Africa and Southeast Asia, a powerful dream takes hold, a dream of escaping poverty and building a better life. For many young people, the idea of leaving home is not just about seeking adventure, but about survival and hope for a brighter future. The promise of opportunity in distant cities and foreign lands becomes a beacon, drawing them away from the familiar comforts of home. High unemployment and daily struggles push young people to seek work abroad, often as the only hope for their family's survival. With few local jobs and wages that barely cover basic needs, migration becomes a lifeline. Parents and siblings depend on the possibility that one member's sacrifice can lift the entire family out of hardship. Stories of success in places like Dubai and Riyadh spread quickly, masking the hidden hardships behind the promise of opportunity. Social media and word of mouth amplify tales of prosperity, while the real struggles, long hours, loneliness and exploitation, are often left unspoken. For many, migration is not a choice but a necessity, driven by the need to support loved ones and escape economic stagnation. The pressure to provide weighs heavily, and the fear of remaining trapped in poverty leaves little room for hesitation. The decision to leave is a collective family effort, with everyone pooling resources for recruitment fees and travel. Families often go into debt or sell prized possessions, hoping their investment will pay off in the form of remittances sent home. The jobs promised, hotel staff, drivers, supermarket workers, sound safe and respectable. Recruiters paint a picture of stability and dignity, assuring families that their loved ones will be well cared for and respected abroad. But the reality is often a harsh contrast, with dreams quickly shattered upon arrival. Many find themselves in overcrowded living conditions, working long hours for far less than promised, and facing isolation in a foreign land. The belief that hard work will be rewarded makes them vulnerable to exploitation. Unscrupulous agents and employers take advantage of their desperation, trapping them in cycles of debt and broken promises. They leave with hope, unaware of the dangers that await. The journey is filled with uncertainty, and the risks, both known and unknown, are immense. The journey that begins with hope too often ends in heartbreak. For every story of success, there are countless others marked by loss, disappointment, and the longing for home. The path to exploitation starts with trusted local recruiters selling dreams of high salaries and good jobs abroad. These recruiters, often from the same community, build trust and paint a false picture of life in the Middle East. Contracts shown at home are fake, with inflated salaries and promises that vanish upon arrival. Families go into debt to pay recruitment fees, selling land or livestock, making the worker's success a matter of survival. Once abroad, the reality is starkly different. Lower pay, harsher conditions, and no way out. The debt incurred becomes a tool of control, trapping workers in abusive situations. Recruiters coach applicants to avoid suspicion and rush them through the process, isolating them before departure. By the time the worker lands, they are alone and powerless. The friendly recruiter disappears, and the true nature of their situation is revealed. The dream sold at home unravels into a nightmare. Upon arrival, the first act is the confiscation of passports, stripping workers of identity and freedom. Isolated in private homes, they are cut off from the outside world and their families. Promised jobs turn into captivity, with employers dictating every aspect of their lives. Phones are taken, movement is restricted, and the worker becomes completely dependent on their employer. The shock is immediate, hope replaced by fear and confusion in a foreign land. Attempts to reclaim their documents are met with threats or violence. Workers are told they must work off inflated debts, making escape impossible. The house becomes a prison, and the dream of sending money home fades. The power dynamic is absolute. The employer controls food, sleep, and pay. The realization of being trapped sets in slowly, crushing their spirit. What began as a journey for dignity becomes a fight for survival. Domestic workers endure endless labor, cooking, cleaning, and caregiving, often from the early hours of the morning until late at night. Their work is physically demanding and emotionally draining, yet it is rarely acknowledged or appreciated by those they serve. Many are expected to be on call around the clock with no rest or days off, and their exhaustion is often dismissed as part of the job. Sleep deprivation and chronic fatigue become a way of life as workers struggle to find even a few hours of uninterrupted rest. Many are forced to sleep on hard floors or in cramped storage rooms, denied even the basic comfort of a proper bed. Promised wages are frequently slashed, delayed, or withheld entirely, leaving workers financially trapped and unable to support their families back home. Employers often claim they are saving money for the workers' benefit or deduct for food and lodging, but these deductions are rarely fair and only deepen the workers' dependence. In reality, these practices are just another form of control, keeping workers powerless and isolated. Without access to their own money, workers cannot escape, seek help, or even communicate with loved ones. Isolation is total. No contact with neighbors, no outside support, and constant surveillance by employers who monitor their every move. Loneliness and fear erode mental health as workers are left to cope with their struggles in silence. Depression and anxiety are common, and medical care is a rare privilege. Most illnesses or injuries are ignored or even punished. When workers fall ill or get hurt, they are often blamed or threatened, and food is frequently inadequate, forcing them to survive on leftovers or scraps, barely enough to sustain them through another day. They are treated as machines, not people, expected to work tirelessly and denied dignity at every turn. Any mistake is met with scolding or humiliation, reinforcing their sense of worthlessness. The psychological toll is immense, as hope slowly fades and is replaced by despair. Many lose their sense of self, feeling invisible and forgotten. Years can pass in this cycle of exploitation and abuse, with little chance of rescue, justice, or even recognition of their suffering. Their pain remains hidden behind closed doors, invisible to the world, while their voices go unheard. For female migrant workers, the home is not just a prison, it's a place of constant danger. Physical abuse is common, with beatings for minor mistakes and injuries left untreated. Sexual violence is rampant, with women assaulted by employers or their relatives, often repeatedly. Reporting abuse is nearly impossible. The legal system punishes victims, not perpetrators. Pregnancy from rape leads to further danger, abandonment, arrest, or even death. Many women die in silence, their deaths covered up or ignored by authorities. Families back home are left with unanswered questions and unbearable grief. The true scale of this violence remains hidden, but the suffering is immense. Vianney Nguema Diouf's story is one of both suffering and resilience. Her journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope can survive. Lured to Lebanon by promises of a good job and a brighter future, she was instead trapped in domestic servitude. Her passport was confiscated, stripping her of her freedom and her identity, leaving her powerless in a foreign land. For over a year, Vianney worked without rest, forced to sleep on a cold kitchen floor. She was isolated from the outside world, exploited and denied even the most basic human rights. Loneliness and exhaustion became her daily reality. After a daring escape, she faced new dangers: no documents, no money, and the constant threat of being caught or deported. Every day was a struggle for survival, and fear was her constant companion. Despite everything, Vianney refused to be broken. She drew on reserves of courage she never knew she had, determined to reclaim her life and her dignity. Returning to Cameroon with almost nothing, she found strength in sewing, turning her pain into purpose. Each stitch became a symbol of her resilience and a step toward healing. She began teaching other returnees, building a community of support and hope. Through her workshops, she offered not just skills, but a sense of belonging and a path to independence. Her workshop became a safe haven for women to heal and rebuild their lives, a place where they could share their stories and find strength in each other. Vianney returned to Lebanon as an advocate, helping hundreds of displaced workers during conflict. She provided not only practical support, but also hope and encouragement to those who needed it most. Her motto, "You can do something for yourself. You don't have to accept suffering as your fate," became a rallying cry for others seeking to reclaim their power. Vianney's journey shows that dignity can be reclaimed even after unimaginable hardship. Her courage inspires others to believe in their own worth and potential. She transformed trauma into a mission to empower others, turning her own suffering into a force for good in her community. Her story is a beacon of hope for all who have suffered, showing that with courage and compassion, it is possible to rise above adversity and help others do the same. The kafala system is the legal engine of exploitation in the Middle East. Under kafala, a worker's legal status is tied to their employer, giving employers near total control. Workers cannot change jobs or leave the country without permission. making escape nearly impossible. Abuse is rampant. Wage theft, violence and confinement are common, with little recourse for victims. Employers routinely confiscate passports despite laws against it. Reforms have been announced, but domestic workers remain excluded and vulnerable. The system dehumanizes workers, treating them as property, not people. Human rights groups demand the complete dismantling of kafala, not just minor reforms. As long as legal status is tied to employers, abuse will persist. The fight for justice continues, but the system's grip remains strong. For many, the journey ends not in prosperity, but in trauma and loss. Survivors return home with deep scars and crushing debt, often worse off than when they left. The shame of returning empty-handed isolates them further, compounding their suffering. Many struggle with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, haunted by memories of abuse. Support systems are scarce, leaving them to cope alone. Some never make it home alive, their deaths shrouded in secrecy and official indifference. Families receive vague explanations with no justice or closure. The trade in domestic workers is a lucrative business, fueling ongoing exploitation. Major events like the World Cup threaten to worsen the crisis, with more workers at risk. Without real reform, the cost of hope will remain unbearably high. Amid the darkness, a movement for change is growing. International pressure and advocacy are shining a light on abuses, demanding accountability. Sending countries must do more to protect their citizens, enforcing regulations and supporting workers abroad. Survivors like Vianney are leading grassroots efforts, offering skills, counseling and solidarity. These networks empower workers to reclaim their rights and rebuild their lives. True change requires dismantling systems like kafala and enacting real labor protections. Migrant workers must be seen as people, not commodities. The United Nations and activists continue to push for systemic reform. The journey is long, but survivor courage and collective action offer hope. The dream of a better life should not come at the cost of dignity or freedom.